Okay, hi everybody. Welcome, Gabby. I'm so thrilled that my first guest on Don't Just Fall Into It is Gabriele Sinusaite from RocheAV. Gabby is a systems architect at RocheAV, and she's worked her way up rapidly from a trainee to a recent award winner of an AV award. So Gabby was recently named the Rising Star of the Year at the 2025 AV Awards. And this was for her resilience and authenticity and her wonderful work that she does as an AV systems designer. So she joins me today to share her journey, and I'm absolutely thrilled. Hi, Gabby. Thanks for joining
Hello.
me. Hi, how are
No,
you
no worries at
doing?
all. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm all good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, really good. Thank you. So, Gabby, I'm really interested to hear how did you land in the AV industry? Tell me about you, and your yeah, how this all came to be.
It's an interesting story. I always dreamed of studying abroad, and uh, that's the thing. Living in Lithuania with my parents, I still dreamed that I would like to explore music technology. I would like to learn more. So after I graduated, after a gap year in 2017, I came here to UK to study creative music technology at the University of Huddersfield.
Mhm.
It was going quite well that I graduated with first class honors in creative music technology, which my parents are very proud of.
Sure,
And
sure. That's amazing.
I really enjoyed studying here in UK and living in UK, and I really wanted to stay. So I was very glad to find an advert. Well, originally, to be fair, was for install engineering at Roche, and I applied for it, but based on my experience, uh, they decided that possibly a design role would be more
Yeah.
suitable for me. So that's how I ended in the trainee system designer role. And it wasn't completely out of the blue. I was thinking about it. For example, in my on my placement here when I was studying at university, I was doing kind of bright space support, which was virtual learning environment support, but
Okay.
I was doing some bits kind of more related with AV. Like for example, some mornings I would check that the equipment in lecture theaters and seminar rooms is working correctly. And I could see this I've seen like schematics of some complex systems as well, like one of the spaces that you could teach from the lecturer's perspective, as well as break out in different locations for students to collaborate. And it was quite of a complex schematic. And I do remember just having like an odd passing thought that, oh, I would like to really understand what's going on behind it. But it was just like a odd thought, and I didn't really develop
Mhm.
it further. And it's just
Yeah.
so happened um, that based on my experience, that they offer the designer role, and I'm really glad that I've started it and that I had this opportunity.
They clearly saw something, Gabby, didn't they? It was great that they managed to filter you off in that direction for the design role and put you into the right place. What was that? When was the light bulb moment that you realised, yeah, this is for me. This is what I want to do for my career.
It's a tricky one because I still even sometimes get this imposter syndrome of just thinking that, am I in the right place? Am I doing the right things? Am I knowledgeable enough given the years of the experience within the industry? So I kind of had the light bulb moment, but I didn't at the same time. It's one of those things that I think when I was working on larger projects, like for example, one project I was quite excited about was Sheffield Hallam University project. There were like three new build blocks, and it required a lot of drawings, a lot of navigation through a lot of spaces, because I think there were, if I remember correctly, over 100 spaces that needed, kind of schematics and elevations. And
Yeah.
I think after that particular project, because I managed it quite well and I could give notes to my manager that, oh, perhaps this is missing, or the need to correct some sort of item within the list. I think that was my light bulb moment that, Oh, I'm managing it quite well. Like I was dealing with such a complex project and meetings to go through the systems, looking through them again, doing the elevation schematics, then uploading to appropriate systems for other disciplines to look at those, because that was quite complex to use that particular cloud software and use the naming conventions. That was quite new to me. So I think that was the moment that I really thought that, yes, I'm in the right place. I understand. I, I'm definitely start to understand what I'm doing and things starting to click from the technical perspective as well.
Yeah. Well, good for you, Gabby. As a non-technical person, I've got the utmost respect for what you're absolutely embracing and doing, and it's lovely to hear how far you realised that you'd come at that point. Was that when you realised you've got a flair for this? How did you know you've got a flair for technical design? Because, all your references speak so highly of you and the quality of the work that you do.
I mean, I experimented with different things, had different ways of doing schematics and things like that. But then when I would get positive feedback from like customers and my manager, for the quality of the works, for noticing, small details that even if it's something simple as maybe power supply missing or something, something like that, I did notice that, oh, I have like a rhythm, it's starting to work. Um, how to say, yeah, that it's clicking into places. I see the
Yeah.
technology. I remember, let's say, feedback from engineers or programmers saying that with this particular device, this is gonna work or this might not work. And just recalling this kind of led me to thinking that, oh, I have a rhythm and how to, work on those things, and that it's going well, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm managing it quite well.
Yeah. And you kind of feel in flow when you're in a good place and you're enjoying your
Absolutely,
work.
because with a lot of work within design, it's still very dependent on other people as well, like on other people's feedback. So it quite often requires switching between the tasks. Like you work on one project, you do little bits, you send it off to the client or someone who's dealing with that project, then you start on something else, and then you remember that there are scheduled works for next week that need some sort of drawings. Might not be much, it might be a simple meeting room, but it still needs attention to detail. It still needs drawings producing. So yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. When you've been working in AV, has there been anything that has surprised you that you weren't expecting? And what would that be?
I suppose the friendliness, you have this stereotype for technical fields that every, well, it is kind of a stereotype that everyone's kind of introverted, kind of wants to be left to their own devices, maybe have some sort of quirky personalities. Uh, I suppose I was expecting a bit more of that. I thought with the technical, fields that I'll get to deal with more of this, but everyone were very friendly and supportive. That's the thing, I didn't expect to receive so much support. Like, for example, with some clients, if I do the drawings, they might notice some bits and give appropriate feedback. And I just didn't expect the friendliness, the kind of close-knit community, if that's the right way of describing it, that AV as a technical field would entail of. And it was an interesting experience, definitely. I mean, at first, obviously, with the trainee role, I was relying a lot on the feedback from my manager, and I didn't deal with the customers that much. But
Yeah.
after getting a bit more comfortable with technology, with doing more drawings, I'm more and more involved with actually communicating with the customers directly. So it's just a really nice experience, and that's the thing. Um, I
I'm so
do.
glad you mentioned that because I've experienced that too over 26 years. And it's just great to hear that that's because I think it is unique to our industry, or it's something that's really special about our industry. And it's great that you've experienced that too, and that we can share that with people who may be considering coming into the industry, because it's a pretty consistent experience that there's something about our sector that is really collaborative, really supportive. Talking of which, there's a lot of talk at the moment about mentorship and allyship within the industry, and the great work that organisations like Rise are doing. Did you find a mentor, Gabby, or somebody who inspired you and supported you when you started, and how did this help you?
So I had a mixture of experiences in terms of mentorship because uh, on one hand, I was supported both by my manager and other members within the office and engineering and programming teams. I could give I can still do give a Teams call and say, oh, I don't know how this works.
Yeah.
Can you give me an advice on that? So I do appreciate the support, but at the same time, with some of the training, it was a bit of a sink and swim situation where you're, dragged in further into a lake and you don't touch the ground and you need to swim back. So it was at times it was a bit of that situation with some of
Yeah.
the training because again when I started I didn't know much about AV. Some of the product training would just go over my head and I would think what I'm doing. So it was a mixture of uh, having the mentorship and having people that support me and give me advice on things, but at the same time there was still my determination required to keep up with the training, do my things, try to be proactive about it, and just kind of self-learn things as well.
Yeah, I think sometimes, yeah, there can be in smaller companies as well as bigger companies. Sometimes, there isn't always a structure for everything, is there, to be able to support training and development. And I think it is a really
Mhm.
important quality to be proactive and to be self-starting and, determined to learn and willing to learn because yeah, there's it's particularly in the role that you do, there's lots to learn, isn't there? Um,
Absolutely, there's always
yeah,
something to learn. You just
and
cannot
changing
know
a lot as
everything.
well.
Yes, absolutely.
So it was amazing that you won an AV award. I mean, that must have felt incredible for you. So you won the AV Rising Star Award 2025. I can see the smile that it still gives you, Gabby. Well done on that. It's incredible.
Thank you.
So I mean, you're a fantastic role model for others in the industry. If you were judging the Rising Star Awards category, what are the qualities, or what's the quality, standout quality or achievement that you'd be looking for from somebody?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think consistency and determination because those nice projects that you were involved, like it's nice to have and those get mentioned in CV, but I
Yeah,
think the worst part is about kind of design role that I could think of is again having the consistency and determination to work on different projects because things get stuck. You're waiting for feedback. You need to switch between the tasks that can be exhausting and kind of unmotivating at times as well when things are stuck and you cannot do much and you've done your bit and that's about it, and just having consistency of keep going one step at a time, switching between tasks, managing the multitasking. I think that's what I would be looking for.
yeah, okay. That makes a lot of sense because, as you say, on a CV, you're going to see some of the technical qualities, aren't you? But you're not necessarily going to see the personal qualities, that drive and that consistency and so on. That's really helpful. So as a female in the industry, we are still a male-dominated industry, and I know things are moving and things are changing, but still, I think the statistic globally is there's something like 2% of females in technical roles in audiovisual, and you're one of those. What's your experience been as a female in the AV industry?
It was I didn't have a bad experience in that regard. I mean, even on some of the modules on my course at university, there were more male than female, and I didn't find much of a difference, even though I do like makeup and things like that. I'm not that feminine, so being in a kind of male dominated fields, I'm kind of used to it. So
Yeah,
any like little jokes or whatnot, they wouldn't bother me. So it was a fairly positive experience. Like, they didn't no one made such a huge deal that I'm a, female and male dominated industry. I would just do my job and everyone would just be supportive. And again, I didn't have like a negative experience, but I can understand that it can get quite overwhelming for a female to enter a, AV industry because of it being so male dominated. But I had, in general, positive experiences.
Do you think sometimes it can surprise people that you are female doing what you do in the role that you do and doing it how as well as you do it and your passion for technical?
I suppose, yeah. I mean, I had conversations with my dad. He thought I'm gonna go in some more creative field, and before being interested in EV, I was interested in composition for film and video games, which is a more kind of creative kind of area. So my dad always thought I'm gonna be a more of a creative type of person and will pick that kind of side. But even throughout my studies, I remember being in different modules for creative composing music for film and video games, or it was like orchestration or whatnot. And I was thinking more about, like, don't get me wrong, I was interested in the composition and understanding the instrumentation itself, but I was also more interested in the technical aspects of it. Like, I see the software, how it's laid out, how you can use different functions, and how it was programmed and designed. And I was even then finding myself a bit more interested in these type of things rather than the creative things itself. But even then, for example, as I mentioned, my dad was surprised that I went into technical field, and he's very proud of me for doing that.
And I'm sure he's super proud about the fact that you've got 50. I couldn't believe this when I read this. I well, I thought it was amazing and a real testament to your your determination and your commitment to what you do. You've got 50 technical qualifications already, and you're 4 years in the industry. Um, what's on your radar next, and why, how do you pick the next qualification that you want to go for?
Well, I'm doing a bit of CTSD training when I can, but at the moment it's quite busy, so it's a bit difficult to manage. I also, in my free time, I try to learn about discrete mathematics and Python programming. I'm quite
Yes.
interested in those fields, and I would possibly like to do computer science degree part-time. So I'm thinking about this, and I think it would benefit a lot my area as well, because I would learn about data structures, about networking, which obviously with AV or IP being quite of a, increasingly popular solution,
Absolutely.
that could be very useful. So that's kind of my long-term goal, I would say. That's what I'm looking forward to, and just trying to prepare and see if I would definitely manage this challenge.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will, Gabby. I've got every faith in that. It makes so much sense with what you're saying about the AV over IP because of the integration and consolidation with IT. And that's a really good point to mention to listeners, I think, who are considering coming into the industry as well in a technical role, because that's what's shifted hugely from when I started. 26 years ago, that's a massive change and something that's really important. The other thing that's important, I think, for all of us that we think about at the moment is AI, and how that's impacting different roles and, sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way. Has AI impacted your role in any way? Do you see any influence coming in at all? What's been your experience with AI?
I suppose I only a small interaction with AI considering my role, because it's still, while I'm doing drawings, I still need to create blocks and things like that and look at pictures of the equipment or the spec sheets to determine all the inputs and outputs. So
Yeah.
it didn't influence me as much. I mean, it's one of those nice to haves. Like if you search for a display and you're given some sort of dimensions and weight immediately rather than having to go through all the information. I still check it that it's correct, but I suppose that's my only kind of interaction for now, that it gives the information a bit quicker through Google
Okay.
search, but in terms of the, doing schematics, elevations, or like rack layouts, I still do it through the software, and I still use the same tools, and AI hasn't really influenced as
No,
much. I'm
okay,
sure that
that's
there are
interesting.
ways to automate my work, and perhaps AI could assist with that, but it's just something to think for the future, because at the moment I can work and have the workflows as I do.
How do you, with everything that you're doing and all of these plans that you have, Gabby, how do you stay motivated?
I suppose I'm a quite of a curious person. Um, I'm interested in learning and bettering myself, whether it comes to the industry knowledge, whether it comes to, my little interests like, Python, or discrete mathematics, as I mentioned. And for example, for doing Python, I'm learning because I want to do the authorized programmer certification by Extron, and I'm really interested in that and would like to do it. So just having those kind of goals for the future helps a lot with keeping the motivation. I always loved learning. I always loved knowing about things and getting to know more about things. So I suppose that's my motivation, because it can get quite hectic with the projects and doing all sorts of drawings and things like that. But if I can find some time for learning and bettering myself, that's my main motivator.
Fantastic. Um, when I read when I read the bio and all the details of your award, people reference you and they talk so highly about the accuracy of your work and how committed you are and how you fit into teams so well and embed yourself so well. How do you manage your time and how do you manage to stay so consistent? Because people talk about, yeah, just your consistent accuracy. How do you, any tips and advice around how you do that?
Well, I suppose with some tasks, if I know that it's going to be like a final submission, I do try to recheck work and just have fresh, uh, you know, fresh mind to do that. And I do tr sometimes if it's a difficult day and there's a lot to do and I'm getting overwhelmed, sometimes I use timers on my smartwatch. So for
Okay.
example, I have like 20-25 minutes of intense work, and then I stand up, I might have a chat with a coworker, I might make
Mm.
myself a coffee, uh, you know, do something, just not sit just at the desk the whole day, just to have that break, have a bit of a refresher of my mind, and then go back to it. So those timers and having like short breaks do help a lot to kind of split up the day and be able to focus on the detail, because that's the thing, after a few hours of intense work you might start missing the detail, and for elevations and things like that, well, it's important not to miss out on things. So I do try to use that on some hectic days.
I think that's a great, absolutely great bit of advice. Somebody told me once that, yeah, your optimum focus is 45 minutes, and then you need to go. It was right when I was writing my book, actually, but where you need to then go and just take a break and then come back because, yeah, it's your optimum is 45 minutes max. So I think that's fantastic advice to be able to go away, take a break, and come back and then get stuck back in again. Where are you heading? I know you've got lots of aspirations and ambitions with your technical qualifications, but where are you heading in terms of your career? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And how's AV helping you to get
it's
there?
it's an interesting one, because I try to pursue mindfulness and present moment with not overthinking too much in the future, but I still, as I mentioned, still need to have little goals that would keep me
Sure.
going and would keep my curiosity going. So I would like to stick with design, just get better with using software, because would like to get more proficient in AutoCAD, which I'm doing as I'm attending a course as well. So would like to do better drawings and just interact more with the different disciplines when I'm working on the project. So I would like to develop from that point of view within design. Then, as I mentioned, because I'm interested in programming and things like that, it would be an interesting challenge to perhaps pick some bits and try to yeah, just try a bit of programming and seeing how it goes. But that's gonna be like far in the future, you know. It's not gonna be soon. There's still a lot to learn and attend different courses. So
Yeah, it sounds like that could be quite a bit of a journey of learning, but certainly a great goal to aim for. It's a fantastic job to have, isn't it? I believe within somewhere to aim for and something else to go for in the industry. What what do you think, given all of the things we've talked about, Gabby, and all of your experience so far, what would be your advice for somebody who's considering a career in the AV industry? And I guess specifically around, looking at a career like what you're doing within systems architect, solutions design. What would be your advice?
um perhaps just giving it a go. I mean, it's one of those things. It works out and people love it, or it doesn't work out. And there's no point of someone staying in the industry if they're hating every single minute of it. So I suppose just giving it a go. Like for me, the trainee position was a perfect opportunity to kind of try that role, build myself up, and see whether that works for me or not. And the conclusion was that it works for me, and I'm happy to be in the field. But at the same time, just it's one of those things that you need to just give it a go. You can't imagine how it's gonna be like. And I suppose helps it helps to talk with people who are in the industry and see what the industry is like and things like that. But you only experience it when you're actually doing yourself and you're doing things, and uh, going through training, doing the drawings. Uh, it's one of those things you need to just give it a go, give it, a couple of years or whatnot. And if you see that, it's exciting, you're looking forward to going to work and doing your part, then obviously it's for you. If not, then perhaps it's worth changing. I suppose that's the thing with a lot of people changing their careers and whatnot. I suppose the society is a bit more accepting in terms of experimenting with those things. Like, if you picked a industry, you're not stuck to it. You can change it. So it's just one of those things that I think the time is so beneficial for that, I suppose, if that's the right way of describing it, that you can experiment, you can give something a go, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, then you can move on and try something else.
Yeah, I agree. You need to try it, don't you? And there are ways of trying it that aren't always even committing to a permanent role. You might be able to find something where you can volunteer, or something you can help a friend out with, or as you rightly say, talk to somebody in the industry, because it is a very approachable industry. And if you can find ways to connect with people, or speaking to recruiters, or people that you may find in the industry, then you can just get a feel for it. And that's what you've said today is just super helpful for giving people a feel for what is possible. And you're clearly enjoying it, Gabby. I can see how much you're getting from what you do. And yeah, I'm going to be personally really looking at what you're doing going forward, and looking forward to seeing how you progress in your career. And I think you're really inspiring, and to me and to other people who are going to be looking at coming into the industry. So thank you so much for today. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
That's no worries. Thank you very much for your time.